Hey guys, it's K-dre and I'm back with another video. And today I want to talk about Randy Pitchford and the recent comments he made a couple of days ago. Um, if you don't know who Randy Pitchford is, he's the CEO apparently of Gearbox Software. And I believe it was a couple of days ago he made a comment after I guess a fan of Borderlands was inquiring about the price of the upcoming game Borderlands 4, and let me just read the conversation to you guys, and we'll get into it after. It's, uh, it says, Brandy, this game better not be $80. Don't take the risk. A lot of gamers aren't gonna pay $80 and feed this nation of constant increase of the price tag. Are are you are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. And here's, Randy responds. He says, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starfight for Sega Genesis for $80 back in 1991. And I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. So, going into this, I can see both sides. I mean, this $80 price raise that they're trying to put on games now just seems like a money grab to me, especially when you think about games that how they arrive in market. And just a couple of years back and even now, these games most of the time need a first day patch. Sometimes they need patches throughout a half year after launch. I mean, look at Cyberpunk. That thing wasn't right for a long time. Cyberpunk is now a good game, but at first it wasn't. It was so glitched out. It took them a while to get that fixed, and everything got pushed back for that. Imagine paying $80 for a game and it ends up something like a Cyberpunk where you have to wait additional, a year or so before you can even, physically play the game. It's just ridiculous to me. The quality that these studios are putting out is not really matching the demand, and they say, oh well, we put so much work in the game, so much labor and stuff like that. Well, you guys aren't putting out finished product. Multiple times this comes the case where these developers that are developing the game can't really finish because the people in charge push out the game just to hurry up and get some money because they want to try to recoup what they spent on the game, but they're not giving us, the fan that's actually going to be playing the game, a finished product. So when you're putting stuff like that out, how are you going to raise the price of games? I don't think the market is very, we're not very trusting in new companies right now. Um, Now, I don't know about Borderlands games. I like Borderlands. I have a couple of the titles, but I haven't really paid attention to the release of Borderlands games to see if they come fully done or if they're like patches, or the the backlash or the comments of when the new Borderlands games come out, and see what they say for those teams. Um, but for most games, I feel like that's kind of the norm. They kind of just put out something that kind of works and then just, continue to work on it, as time goes on. And that's not really, that's not really something that should be done. And I don't think that's something that we should have to pay more money for, me personally. And there's a lot of people throwing stuff around like inflation and all that stuff, but I think these companies still can make money for the $60 price point on these games. I don't think they have to raise the price, and if they did have to raise it, they just raised it to 70 not too long ago, and now it's 80. um, you know and the 70 just hasn't got was just introduced not even that long ago. So what does that tell you? um, I just think that these companies are more concerned with, just getting the money, and they're not really concerned about the craft, and just putting out quality, product most of the times. And especially sometimes with these big name franchises, it comes out, some of these games are pandering and, you know, going away from the fan base that really made these IPs, iconic. Like, look at something like Saints Row. Like, I'm a big Saints Row fan, but the new Saints Row reboot is not something, that I enjoy playing. My favorite one is Saints Row 3. I enjoy 2. I enjoy 1 as well. 4 I play it, but it's not really my favorite. But the new Saints Row reboot game is nothing like Saints Row. It's completely different. I wish that, they didn't put the Saints Row name on there, because I think maybe then, it would be different. But trying to play that game and thinking of Saints Row and all the fun and, lore and all that I had for that game, and trying to play this new one, just, it turns me off from it. And I think that when it comes to that game, they pandered to a lot other people than the core fan base, and they were scared to really just give the fans what they really wanted, and was trying to pander to a whole bunch of people that probably really didn't play the game, or if they did play the game, they probably didn't really have any problems with what was in the game, you know. And I think sometimes these companies overthink it, but not to get too back out of subject, but you know in this new age of pandering and stuff, who's to say if this Borderlands 4 is even going to be quality Borderlands material? You never know. It could have a lot of stuff that can turn the fans off, and it's going to be the most expensive Borderlands game to ever be released. I don't think Borderlands was $80 when it came out. Um, 1 through 3. I mean, it probably had, expansions and stuff like that adding that up would probably add to the price, but I don't think Borderlands 1 to 3, this initial release, was $80. So I don't think the Borderlands 4 game should be $80 either. Because most likely it's not going to be, as good as Borderlands 1, 2, 3. It's probably not. And it's probably going to have a whole bunch of pandering to people that's not even really in the fan base. But that's pretty much speculation in my part, and I admit that. But what do you guys think about this new price that they're putting on these games? Some people are saying that it's because of Nintendo, but I think these companies were just looking to try to increase revenue, and instead of increasing revenue by putting more work into their games, putting out finished product, and just really coming up with a great story, solid, and just delivering what the fan base wants, and stop pandering to groups that necessarily are not really probably even playing the game, or stop trying to put things that were never really in the game series and trying to fit it into it, and try to grab more people that way. They just they're just gonna up the price of things. you know it's sad, but that's where we are. They're making everything digital, and they're raising the prices of things you can't even own anymore. It's pretty sad, but as always, guys, I'm K-dre Almighty, and I'm out. Remember, no matter who you are, where you're from, there's mindless in it.